dark and scary night, it can be hard to tell what lurks in the shadows. Could it be a terrible beast, or perhaps a friendly cat just wanting to say hello? No
Hey,
one
Jobe, are you
knows.
doing the intro?
What are you doing?
Trying to do the intro, guys.
Really? Why are you putting so much effort into this? Just go, oh, it's scare by scare. And
Yeah, like scare by scare, you know?
Okay, fine. Welcome, listener, to Scare by Scare.
Cue the music.
Cool. So, like, the music has faded in at this point.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm gonna kick it over to Trace.
Hey, I'm Trace. I'm one of your guys, and I'm here. We're doing it. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna kick it back over to Jobe.
Hey, thanks for that lovely introduction, Trace. Now to cap things off, I'm gonna kick it over to Marshall.
Hey y'all, it's me, Marshall, once again. Love to be here joining Scare by Scare Studios. It's a new year. We're recording this on the 1st of January, so new year, new us, right boys?
Hope you didn't do any laundry.
No, we washed and dried everything. We need to fold it, and still need to fold last week's laundry.
I did that today.
We have 2 weeks of laundry to fold here. But
See, my trick is I only have 1 week's worth of clothes. So if I don't fold it, well, by next week I just have to wash it all again anyway. And then I'll try to fold it then.
I
Yeah,
just, I gotta get stuff cleaned up so I can get them ready to start packing because we're heading to the doughy hills of Michigan.
yeah. So Trace, what did we watch this week?
We watched a cool movie called The Empty Man. It was
This movie
okay.
was empty of character.
That's really funny.
Well,
This movie came out in 2020. It's a supernatural horror film, not to be confused with Supernatural, the TV show. We start off in 1995 in the Ura Valley in Bhutan. I didn't pronounce any of that correctly, especially Valley. A group of 4 friends are going on a hiking trip in the mountains when their friend Paul begins to hear something in the distance. Ooh, what's that? He goes over to investigate and falls in a hole. They, I think it's called belaying, but I wrote that they roped on down to find him, and he was entranced in front of this really creepy-ass effigy/shrine. It had a large skeletal figure with several limbs poking out of it, and Greg touches Paul, and he starts to freak out. They get Paul off the anthill that he's sitting on, and they start back home. They find a cabin in the hills, very similar to that of In the Woods, but not. They strip Paul because they want to check him for insect bites, allegedly. As Fiona goes out to get some water in a tea kettle, and a storm begins to roll on through. Ooh. The 4 stay there, stay the night in the cabin for a few days, since they are 5 miles from any town, and 5 miles is a long walk, especially to carry a full-grown man. Ruthie, one of the friends, sees someone in the blizzard, and it starts to run towards her as she's shouting at them for help. She shuts the door, and then it goes, ah ha ha ha, it's just us, your friends, who went out to hike some more. It's day 3, Paul is missing, and he is found blowing on a whistle and meditating at the bridge. Ruthie goes fucking insane, and stabs Greg several times and slits Fiona's throat and pushes them into the ravine that the bridge is over before throwing herself down as well. Paul drops a single tear, and then we jump to 2018 Missouri, where we meet James, an ex-cop who is working at a security-type store and selling all kinds of self-defense gadgets like guns, keys, locks, pepper spray, and all kinds of whatnots, and who's that. He meets up with his neighbor, Amanda, who really wants to kiss him, I think, but he's sad about his dead wife and son. Car accidents, am I right? Amanda runs away with a sign on a window written in blood saying, quote, "The empty man made me do it." Nora, the mother of Amanda, is all sad because it's her mom. It's all she has left because her dad's dead. So we got that going for her. And James goes on a hunt to find Amanda's friends to investigate her runaway because she seems very close to these people. We kind of get a cut back a few days prior, and after some classic peer pressure in this group, we find our new group of friends here all breathing into a bottle and calling for the empty man on a bridge. And something is supposed to happen, and it does. After investigating Amanda's friends, James finds them all hanging dead under the bridge where they called for the empty man. We see one of the remaining friends, Devara, in a sauna being attacked by this empty man, or at least some kind of shadowy figure. However, we kind of cut back after some steam is lifting away, and we see that she is grabbing herself by the throat and stabbing herself in the face with a pair of scissors multiple times. James goes home to investigate this Pontifex Society that keeps popping up in his investigations, while Nora shows up with some Chinese food and tries to fuck James. But he just wants to drink and think about his dead family. The next day, while at this Pontifex Society meeting, we see a painting of the cabin that's in the hills from 1995. Ooh, that's spooky. James finds a weird cult and a man willing to tell him where Amanda is at, and he goes deep into the woods to find out what she's doing there. While there, he just kind of goes, investigating around, and he sees a cool teddy bear. He finds some home films of people being real creepy and doing all kinds of cultist shenanigan. And then he kind of takes all these files and finds a large group of cultists chanting and running around in a circle around a bonfire. They stop chanting, and they kind of all turn to look at him. He takes a step back. They take a step forward. He takes a step back. They take a step forward. So he books it back to the car, and they're all running after him because they want to get him, presumably for more kisses. He goes to the police before kind of getting himself ready. They're telling him, hey, you fucked up this investigation. This isn't good. And he's like, I was a cop once. And like, you're not anymore. You're off the case. So he goes to the little store he works at and starts getting all kinds of guns and all kinds of self-defense stuff. And he takes Nora to a hotel where we get our first glimpse of the night his family died. And he seemed to be having an affair with Nora while they're driving and getting in an accident. Later that night, he sees a figure run at him in his room and reach for him before disappearing. And oops, he hears a doorbell. And as he opens the door, he finds the same large teddy bear on his front porch. The next morning, he puts his wedding ring on, and he stops taking his antidepressant, and begins to tail one of the kids from the Pontifex Society, the one who told him where Amanda was, and he finds them going to a hospital room, where they bow before some patient. Who knows what it is? We find out later it's Paul from 1995. James then kidnaps the kid from the society and drives him into like an alleyway under a bridge and starts beating the shit out of him because he's not answering any questions. And this is how ex-cops operate. And then he kind of goes back to the hospital and he's asking the orderly about the patient. And she's like, I can't disclose any patient information with you. That's against the law. And he goes, no, of course you can't, but will you? And she goes, yeah, sure. So she tells him just about everything and tells him he currently has a visitor in there with her right now. He walks in to find Amanda, and she's sitting there straddling him, tending to the man and kind of shaving his beard and all that. And she begins to tell him everything. And we find out that his whole life has been orchestrated in a certain way for him to become the empty man in this little experiment that they had where if enough people believe and love this cult thing hard enough, they can make a man appear out of thin air. And he was born 3 days ago. And James just kind of has a nervous breakdown, starts seeing some shit, and goes all crazy. And he goes to his home. It's empty because he never lived there to begin with. We then see that the wife and son died in a horrible accident because he choked on a quarter. The mom doesn't stop the car to help her son, but instead keeps the car going and cruise and turns around. And then she sees a deer and she drives off the bridge. They tumble, they fall, they die. He fucks his neighbor. And he then just shoots the man in the hospital. And he turns around. and those present in the hospital bow to him. And that's basically all that happens.
Wow.
It was a
Yeah.
super cool movie.
Sure, we can say that.
It looked cool.
It looked like it could have been really cool.
I'll give it that. Like there were some scenes and shots that, yeah, they have interesting cinematography.
The empty man himself looks creepy. It looks like he has potential.
Like the second half, like the cabin scene where he's like at the cabin and there's like all the people there and they're like running around, but there's like a lot of them. It almost looks like they're like swarming like bees
Yeah.
or whatever. I'm like, damn, that's good, right? And then they're just like chugging along. Look at them. That's a good bit. But like I was telling my beautiful wife, our producer and editor,
Good one.
there's that bit in the beginning where he has to go look at the other people's houses that are Amanda's friends, and he goes to a house and it's like a good like 10 minutes of the movie where he's like looking through his house, nobody's there, but then he finds the dead dog in the backyard where he's like, oh, this is the blood that they used to write the thing Amanda wrote on the wall, the empty man. And I'm like, man, this didn't have to be a 2.5 hour movie. I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah.
he trucks it along way too much. If I was an ex-cop and I was investigating this, an hour tops. I'd have been in and
Trace
out, and
as
I'd
a
been
cop sprinting through the crime scene, just looking at everything.
I'm scanning the room real quick. Nothing's in here.
Yeah.
I'm running into the house. Nobody's home.
Trace is speed running a
He no clips through the body. But there's like that scene where he's talking to the one girl who went to the school, and that feels like it takes at least 20 minutes. But that's like that was like one sentence of your summary.
It's not like they do a lot in that moment, but it's nothing really substantial. It's just they describe, hey, hey, there's this empty man thing, right? And they're like, what's that? And they're like, if you're on a bridge and you find a bottle and you blow into it and you think about the empty man, he'll come get you in 3 days. All right, that's we're good to go.
which is weird because they do that, and then there's the flashback to them kind of explaining that whole thing in the flashback as well.
Yeah.
Plus, with like watching them do the thing, it should have been, yeah, this is what the empty man is, and then everyone else did the empty man thing pretty much, and we saw some spooky things, but I don't know, right? Like even in the flashback, they don't even see anything spooky. You just hear like rattling or whatever, right? Like, besides the point,
I feel like they do try to explain the same thing over and over again.
I do have to give it credit though. The movie does, it has a unique idea, It's not really a possession movie. It's like possession adjacent, right? The whole idea is, what if we believe in something, does that make it true? And if it's not true, but we believe hard enough, can we make a person the perfect vessel for this supernatural entity, right? It's like a possession, but the possession's not the main crux of the story. It's just
to that end. Look, if you're out there and you're lonely, if you get enough people around and you can start like your own little cult, we're not going to call it a cult because that's got some negative connotations. But if you get enough people around you to believe in the perfect significant other that you could possibly want, they'll just appear at your doorstep in 3 days.
I didn't want to derail your train, but
no. It was a very important point.
If somebody out there is charismatic enough to start a cult, powerful enough to summon somebody by the power of belief, they're probably not lonely. They could probably make a friend.
Well, but what if it's not their ideal friend? What if they're like, yeah, these guys are cool, but they
Who
could be cooler?
is?
Yourself. You want to be able to make an exact clone of yourself. That way you'll always agree on everything. You'll always have a good time, and your friend's having a good time because they're you.
What if that's the point
I
of
don't
the
know.
cult, is to make a copy of yourself?
There you go. We don't know
I
that
feel
that's
like
not it.
I wouldn't want a perfect copy of myself. I'm so indecisive that two of us, we would never get anything done.
Yeah.
See, I come across as indecisive, but it's only because I don't want to choose something and have the other person go, ugh, not that. Because then otherwise, if there's a clone of me sitting next to me and going, hey, what do you want to eat? And I go, Taco Bell.
See, I feel like if it was me though, they'd say, "Hey, what do you want to eat?" And I'd go Taco Bell, and they go, "I don't really want Taco Bell." And I'd be like, "Yeah, I know. Why did I say that?"
It's like, cool. What do you want? I want McDonald's. Oh, I don't know if you meant McDonald's. You're right. Why did I say that?
Yeah, I don't know either.
Let's go get some Chinese. I don't really like Chinese.
Yeah. Something I thought is I don't know how I felt. The intro where it's like them in Bhutan,
Yeah,
Butalini. That it's like it sets up this is Paul that we're gonna see later, but like
yeah,
it doesn't really have any huge impact. Like, oh, this
No.
is the guy from earlier, and now this is he's here, right? There's no like, oh, this is the same exact thing. No, nothing similar. It's just this one dude just saucy with the dog, right? Like they could have cut that whole bit out and just had it been a crime, but given at the beginning that we knew that there was some freaky shit with this empty man deal, right? We were always looking for it,
Are we led to believe that he just found a bottle and he knew this empty man thing, so he just went, woof, and blew into it? And then I assume his girlfriend did too or something, and like she was part of this cult, because like she just kind of kills the two friends, pushes them, and then looks at him, and they seem to have some weird understanding, and then she goes, yeah, you right, and then kills herself.
I think it's just the effigy like gets to them because they talk about like if it gets in your head, you'll start like seeing stuff.
But
so I'm
she
assuming,
see the effigy?
maybe,
it was just
maybe
Paul
not.
and Greg that went down there.
Yeah, but Paul was the dude who's mad chilling, and he probably infected her brain too, or some hooky booky.
Maybe it was like an off-screen thing. I don't know.
Sure, man. I'm just saying that beginning part didn't need to be there. Really, doesn't have that huge impact on the story.
No, I don't think so either.
Jobe, your thoughts on the intro?
Yeah, Jobe.
Can't shrug his shoulders. This is an audio thing, you fuckhead.
I was about to make my point.
I'm so funny.
Yeah, get him.
Okay, bud.
Get him, Marshall.
Anyway.
Marshall's about to tear you up.
Oh, eat your bunghole.
I'm about to eat your ass.
This is just we're at the cafeteria. Marshall's lightly punching me on the shoulder while Trace is 3 tables away yelling, "Fuck him up!" Anyway,
Jobe's thoughts.
So yeah, the beginning again, like it had some parts that looked cool. Some sound was good. Like the big skeleton's fun.
It's a good look, but like we see it later.
Yeah, but we saw it here first.
Which doesn't do anything for us here. That's what I'm saying, really. It's
actually,
like, oh,
I saw it somewhere else first.
Of course you did, you little slut.
I was there.
I'm not. I'm just saying that the pacing.
Sure,
Pacing. That's the word I've been thinking of up in here, up in the old noggin.
The noggin.
Yeah. I think for me, it's just this movie has some issues and then does very little remarkably well.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like performances, they're fine. It's no Donnie Wahlberg. Writing, like in terms of the dialogue, it's okay. Everyone just kind of, to me, it felt kind of like an episode of Law and Order at times.
Yeah. I can see what you're saying.
It definitely gave more of like a crime show kind of feel to it rather than like an actual horror or scary movie.
Yeah, like I feel like this plot would have been better served as an episode of Supernatural.
Yeah.
Okay, they have in like one of the very first seasons, Supernatural, they have the same exact monster. It's a tulpa, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's like it's a 45-minute episode. They have the whole thing because they go in, they're like, this is a spirit. We'll kill like a spirit, but they don't kill it because this house has so many different ghost stories about it that's haunted. Mm-hmm. It manifests as this tulpa, and then they figure it out. And it was, a 45-minute episode. And you're like, wow, that was a full arc. It wasn't 2.5 hours.
Yeah, well, that's where David Pryor came in and like watched that episode. He loved the idea of it and went, "Yeah, I can vamp for like an hour and a half longer. That I can make that work."
Yeah, no, it'll be fine. It'll be
Like,
cool.
what if we did that, but we cut Sam out of it, and Dean had lost his family and just did some good old fashioned police work?
Classic.
Let's
Classic.
record an underage girl without her permission.
No, it's just
What?
what?
That's it. He records the conversation with Devara, Amanda's friend.
Oh, yeah.
And when since they're in high school, I assume she's underage.
She could be 18.
Yeah, there's some 18. I was 18 when I was a senior.
Of course you were, old fuck.
Yeah, I got held back.
No, but like
Penis
it's so
too big.
it's so sad
Too big.
because like it has good ideas on the idea of the story. Like, what if you thought your whole life is a fucking lie and you were made up just to like be possessed? Great idea. But then they spend 2.5 hours to get to that point at the end. If they had some hints maybe at the beginning of like stuff wasn't adding up, or like almost like Truman Show kind of like, it's like, oh, where did these pills come from or something like that,
Kind of like Shutter Island. I think that one does its twist real good.
What the one part when they're like he's like tripping out towards the end, there's that bit where he's under that like railing in the church and he's also there at the same time, like when we saw him earlier. So I was also thinking like, what's the point of this? Like, he didn't time travel. Like, this, they're just saying that he was created with the consciousness, but he didn't move through time.
That part, that's the part that was like, it's weird because it's trippy and it's kind of like oh hey, something's actually happening, so let's just attach to that.
Let's
but at
pay
the same
attention.
time, yeah, like at the same time, it's like, how is he in two places at once? You can't do that.
Yeah. I mean,
unless he can do that because he's the empty man now. Maybe he's got cool powers.
They were saying that like when he found his original file that had nothing in it, that his self dropped the files out, but I don't know. That just seemed weird. I don't know, man.
Time travel's tricky.
It's like my least favorite Shrek the final chapter. That shit boggled my mind for a while.
Shrek the third is worse.
What? No way Shrek the third is worse.
Shrek the third is worse.
All right. Comment on this episode. What's the worst Shrek?
Obviously the fourth one.
I think
Obviously.
maybe Wendy Wu, the Homecoming Warrior, because it has nothing to do with the original plot of Shrek. I don't understand why it's connected.
Okay. Anyways, enough Wendy woohooing. Back to fucking the Gray Man,
Back
or
to
whatever
the
it's called.
episode.
The
The
Empty
Gray
Man.
Man.
Gray Men were last week.
Empty man.
Oh, 2 weeks ago was Gray Men. I can't keep all these men in track. So
There's
Empty
too many,
Men.
man.
They're empty. Like the cult part where he goes to the cult and like in the city was kind of like lame. They're like, all right, this is like a front-facing cult. Like, what do you want from us? They're gonna say some whack shit, and they're like, wow, this is, what do you know? They're saying weird stuff again, but like nothing that was like, wow, they have some weird ideas. Nothing really,
For me, a cult movie really only works if it's used as a way to basically like, you don't know who to trust because you don't know who's attached to this cult, or just like they're playing a larger role in society. But these guys, they're just kind of having AA meetings in the community center basement. Like, who cares?
Pretty much.
Yeah, like, I mean, yeah, these kids died because of the Empty Man, but like nothing has happened really. Like, they mentioned that
this going on.
This cult's been along for a while, and then they've been like summoning this entity before. They've had manifestations of it, but nothing like, I mean, there's been a couple people that have died, but it's not like, oh, if they summon the Empty Man, the world will end. Nah, dude, the Empty Man's just gonna chill in a white dude in a fucking hospital bed. And all these other people are gonna come in and be like, oh, let's bow to him. Like, nothing too serious comes about from Mr. Man of the Empty.
Nah, he just shows up in the real world and he's like, there's gonna be a bloodbath, but it's actually just the Empty Man going, I'm tired today. Can you guys just kill yourselves? And then suddenly 5 kids are hanging under a bridge.
Yeah,
He just rolls up and is like, wait, there's how many Legend of Zeldas now?
Oh, I gotta catch up on that.
yeah.
Those games are so long.
I'm gonna have to watch that. I'm gonna have to watch this brand new live action. There's 2 of them.
They're making a third?
Don't even tell me Knuckles. He's in it.
I thought I liked the idea at the beginning where we see that one girl like get attacked by the Empty Man, but then she was just like stabbing herself, and I'm like, this could be a hot thing where it's like, oh, is there an actual Empty Man? Yeah, I said the wrong thing. Make fun of Marshall for slipping up his word choice.
For reference, boobies.
Yeah. But like maybe there wasn't actually an Empty Man, you know? Maybe they're just all just little hooky dookie, and they're because of their belief, they have to make it have to have the Empty Man, but there is no Empty Man because they're believing in it. They kill themselves. Yeah. You kind of see where I'm going with that?
Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah, that's honestly a pretty interesting idea that I kind of want to give credit to the movie for, but I'm not even sure, like, you're going to have this movie where the idea is belief in the monster, but there's no one who's, like, unreasonably skeptical about anything. Like, everyone just kind of buys into it fairly reasonably, I think.
Yeah, like they kind of lead you to believe there's that one guy that's kind of like, carefree, like, I could take this or leave it. And he's like, hey, you want some information on this bullshit? And he's like, yes, I do. And he's like, go to the cabin in the woods. And he's like, ominous. And then he comes back and he's like, hey, I'm a full believer. They just told me to act like I'm not. And I'm like, we could have had the one guy that's kind of like joining in on the investigation, but it's like an inside man because he's like, this is bullshit, but I think it's funny.
Also, immaculate maneuver from them, all right? Because the guy that we're talking about here, this guy's Garrett. He's the guy that plays young Ned Stark in Game of Thrones and also plays young Elrond in Rings of Power. And we get to hear him say, yeah, there's a bunch of weird cats in there, man. These crazy cats. And this is like a movie set in real people time, not old people time. So like hearing this, looking at young Elrond here say, hey, these are crazy cats. And I'm like, dude, this is like 2020, man. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no one's saying cats.
What the fuck are you doing?
Talking about cats 2019.
Crazy. He's also in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And The King's Man.
Look at him go. Sound correct.
Nah, he is.
I don't think so.
Nah, well, it's one of them's in the Battle of Five Armies, so he's probably just like in the mix somewhere around there, and you can't really see him. He didn't ask George Lucas for a purple lightsaber, so we don't know where he's at.
Fair. Yeah, but like, I don't know. They play with this idea for most of the movie. It's like, the thought idea of making something believe in it because we believe in it so hard. It's created, and then they're just like, yeah, it's real, by the way, like halfway through the movie. And it's like, come on, man, like you got to have us reason to doubt for most of the movie, or it's like the Polar Express, right? The kid fucking doubts like the whole movie until he sees Santa and he's like, you know what, this might be real, right?
You know what? It wasn't the train in my front yard that convinced me. It was seeing Steven Tyler, Elf. That's what really won me over.
But you know what I'm saying, right? Because this guy, he's like, man, this is some weird stuff going on. All right, this cult, they could be into some weird shit. And then they're like, go to the cabin. It goes to the cabin. Hey, this is our video proof of a manifestation of the Empty Man. He goes, oh, yeah, look at that. That's crazy. Huh, look at all these guys. I'm wearing some weird shit. Yeah, I believe in this. This seems real. Like, come on, man. Let us be skeptical. Let us be skeptical until the big reveal at the end, and then have it all go downhill. But I think maybe they were thinking that we were being skeptical for too long because it was a 2.5 hour movie. So halfway through would have been the end of the movie, which would have been a good point to like, call it the whole movie. But that's anyways. Yeah. How are y'all doing today?
Could be better. I was wanting this to be a better movie. Honestly, my concept going into this was I was excited because I saw like the figures of like what the Empty Man is gonna be. So it sounded kind of cool when they have this creepy effigy there, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna start believing real hard, and this thing's coming to life. That's gonna be some creepy shit. Because a guy walking around with like 8 limbs and he's like tall, he's like a big 12-foot man. That's gonna be creepy. And then they went, ha 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 ha. It's not that. It's a man, but he's regular and he's white. And I was like, oh well, cool. So they just made a man.
Yeah. Not to say, I mean, it sounds like we're hating on this movie, and I don't want to seem that
No,
way.
it's not honestly that bad.
It's not terrible. You have to go into it knowing it's gonna be a long slog.
Yeah,
I thought it was gonna be like an hour and a half, and then I turned it on. It was 2.5 hours. I'm like, oh, this is hefty. But for the most part, the actors and people in it, they perform well. There's some good shots in it for the most part. The idea that they're going with is interesting. I'd recommend watching it at least once, just to, if you're somewhat interested in a different take on a horror movie that's not possession or a demon or anything like that, something to really get your gears going. I maybe would have. Yeah, it's got a little bit of detective in it. It's got some backstory, I guess. I don't know how to say that. It's
got lore.
It's got lore. It's got affairs. It's got like I said, good visuals, good sound, makes you think. It's a fun, good movie. God damn it, Joe.
I just feel like, okay, let's all stop and think for a second. When was the last time we watched a movie that had any boobies in it?
Well,
about 4 hours ago.
That's a great segue. Everybody catch us in a couple weeks when we start our brand new podcast, Boob by Boob.
No, we're cutting that out.
Hosted by Jobe because he really wants it.
God, that sounds
I think it was
terrible.
Cabin in the Woods. I think Cabin in the Woods was the last time we saw boob.
Probably.
Ugh.
It was a bit of a dry spell for us.
Marshall really hates this.
Marshall hates boobs.
See, my stance on it is I'm not implicating myself by like revving at the engine to go get boobs. So I'm like, this is Jobe's bit.
Someone's gonna come to this podcast and be like, "Wow, these guys." Oh, someone's gonna listen to this podcast for the first time, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, what are they gonna talk about?" They just hear Jobe in the corner. This has 3 boobs in it. Good movie. 6 out of 10.
This ain't Total Recall. Anyway,
let's watch Gamer next.
Ooh, that's got some barbs in it.
We're gonna watch the entire Game of
honkas.
Thrones series.
Some melons. Anyway,
Christ.
yeah, I feel bad because like it's not bad. The movie, it's just like I said, doesn't do a whole lot. Like it's not outstanding in a lot of fields, and the parts of it that I do actually like are hard for me to describe because I'm stupid. Sure. And it's all like visual stuff, so it's like trying to describe a picture, but that's 1,000 words each.
We don't have time for 1,000 words. We only got like a couple thousand.
Yeah, but we gotta use some of those words for other things.
Like boobies, apparently.
Yeah, paint us a picture
Marshall,
of
real
boobies.
mature.
Yeah, I'm throwing it into your face. No, I see what you're saying, Jobe, and I'll raise you $6.
Okay.
Nice.
I'm all in, baby.
I raise you again and say it exceeds expectations in a first-time movie of its sight and sound and directors and stuff. You know, you look at it, you're like, man, this could be fun, could be shit. Let's watch. And you watch it, and you're like, yeah, it's entertaining. Would I watch it again? Maybe not. But for the first time I watched it, it exceeded my expectations. You know what I'm saying? Who's
Yeah.
with me?
No, I get that.
Marshall watching any movie for the first time. Hey, not bad for their first try.
No. I'm saying that this was a directorial debut by White Man himself. And it was a collaboration.
Finally, they're giving the white man a chance.
Finally. I was
Uh,
just saying, there's not enough white people in the film industry.
yeah, David Pryor in his feature directorial debut.
That's great and all, but the fuck do I care?
It's based on the graphic novel of the same name.
Actually, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bitch.
I feel like it feels like comic panels in some places. So the only thing I liked was something the graphic novel did for him.
He's also credited in a movie called Our World, and it just looks like it has a shot from Megan Fox in the first Transformers movie when she's fixing the car.
Nice.
The book came out. What? This doesn't even seem right. Hold on. There's a disease? What the fuck?
Yeah, there's tons of diseases.
Well, so this is the synopsis of the book: is the nation is in the grip of a terrible pandemic. The empty man disease causes insanity and violence. Government quarantines are mandatory. One of the afflicted is Melissa, and the next step should be to quarantine her, but those who enter quarantine are never seen again, and her family won't let that happen. All they do is care for her, keep her worsening a secret, and they'll do anything, trust anyone to keep her safe. What the fuck? That's not even close to what the movie is.
Nah,
Yeah, are you sure this was based on it at all, or did they just happen to have the
I
same
did
name?
see that. I did see that it was, but it's nothing like it, so I just went past it. David Pryor just went, I like the book, but let's change it. Let's make it bad.
Let's shake it up a little.
Let's make it worse and see how people react.
Well, I did hear from my my sources that so the film came out in 2020.
Yo, shout out to sources.
Nice.
What's up? Which is around COVID, and it didn't have a great box office, and so it didn't do too great. Critics weren't too huge fan of it. From what we've said, I'm assuming they were, well, the prose and the poetry, yada yada yada. Critics, you know how they are. But it did have a little bit of a comeback when it got to streaming, like a little cult following. Maybe
Whoa.
the people who made the movie believed in it so hard
Crazy.
that it got views.
Oh,
That's what I've got to say.
Should we go get the
That's
Willy
pretty
Wonka
good.
pancakes from IHOP at some point?
What?
I just saw it when I was on IMDb for Empty Man.
Empty Man.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Empty by the man.
It's hard to describe the movie to our audience out there that haven't seen this movie. It's hard to talk about it because a lot of it is the main character, kind of walking and looking at things.
Yeah.
And it's hard to be like, well, he walked, because Trace's little summary was for a 2.5 hour movie. And some of it, he's like walking through a place. He's looking
I'm
at
not
things,
writing the 2.5 hour summary.
right? He's just
Fuck
like, look, wow.
Ooh,
And then he'll go and verify the information. For example, there's this one bit where he finds out about Paul early on, where he sees his like medical records where he's transferred. Yet he still goes to the hospital to ask what's his deal. Like, dude, you had the book in front of you. You could have read it.
What's going on here? I see in this file that he's in the hospital. Is that correct? Am I saying that right? And they're like, yeah, the fuck?
They're like saying, oh yeah, he was transferred from this place and from this place. And I'm like, dude, we literally saw that earlier.
Yeah, I know all that. Tell me something I don't know. It seems like you already have all the information.
he had to verify it.
Well, that's easy. You could do that on Twitter. You could do that on Twitter for like $10.
He had the primary source, the file on the guy
Sorry,
from the people with the dude.
Was it a reprint?
Fuck you. I don't know. They had some good lines in it. He pulls out the file and then he opens it up and it's his file and it's just empty. He was like, aha, good one. Yeah.
Man, y'all are all right. Where's Ashton Kutcher? Y'all are still fucking with me, aren't you? Am I on?
Or when he like walks outside and he sees the bear and he's like, oh yeah. He holds it up and he's like, yeah, look at this bear. I like how he has the bear with them the rest of the day in the car.
Well, because I don't know if I thought he was gonna do a thing of like show up to that guy and be like, "Who put this bear in front of my house?" But I think it was supposed to be a thing of like he bought that bear and gave it to his son.
What?
Or something like in
No,
his file,
dude.
in his no.
No, they bought the bear for him.
Oh, see, I didn't catch that. I just saw the receipt for the bear and I went, he got that for his son. That's cute. And then his son died. And then they're like, we made you. And I was like, what's up with the bear then?
What did you get that from?
What the bear doing?
At that point, I was just checked out.
Did like the part when he was driving away from them and he's like, what was that?
What the fuck is going on here? I'm like, who are you talking to, man?
They're all like, I'll kill you, driving crooner.
Or when they're like they all stare at him and then they take a step and he takes a step and he takes a step and they take a step and he goes, no, and then takes off. I'm like, you know what? Valid.
I would have done a couple more steps just to mess with him, like do a little nope. You got me. All right, I'm gonna go now.
So we now know using, someone could do like a psychological case file on Trace and be like, listen, here's the amount of people it would take that we know that he would fight off in a situation, or he'd attempt to fight off
100%.
if he had the sword in his house, right?
All I'm saying is the guy's got a baseball bat and he's an ex-cop. He needs a sword.
If there's anyone who should have a sword,
it's an ex-cop.
He had a gun.
And he just he owned
a security store.
That's my thing.
Yeah,
on it, though. Like he's an ex-cop and he doesn't have a gun. Like I know he's not gonna have the police issued gun, but like he can just buy one. Why would an ex-cop not have a gun?
Roll at disadvantage within 5 feet.
Nah, not in the real world.
You haven't seen John Wick kills people within 5 feet.
Yeah.
Overall, this movie is okay enough to get from me at least a 6 out of 10.
Oh, dude, what the?
That's
fuck?
Crazy.
Joe comes out of nowhere,
insane.
says like one good thing about the movie, and then gives it a fucking 8.
Well, for me, it's like a baseline movie is going to be a 5, right? A standard average movie is going to be a 5. For it to get less than 5, I feel like it has to just be actually bad. And this movie actually ain't that bad. It's just kind of whatever.
All right. Well, I'm giving it a 5.52.
That's great.
Okay.
I was mainly just surprised that Jobe and I finally settled on something, and it's the same score. I also gave it a 6. It was a little slow, but I think the concept was enjoyable.
The only thing it really repeats from other movies is that he is the bad guy. I mean, that's been in some movies, right? Where like the main guy turns out to be the bad guy.
Yeah,
but that's the only thing it really repeats. Pretty much the actual thing is different.
Pretty unique. It's pretty original for what it's trying to do.
Yeah, I guess if you like the comic book and then you read and you watch the movie, you'd probably be like, "What the fuck is this?"
Well, yeah, 100. It would. I mean, that's just adaptations or shit.
Joe, what are we watching next week?
Yeah. Play us out.
Hey, gamers!
Don't forget to plug.
Oh yeah,
plug my ass.
This episode was brought to you by the power of belief.
Shout out to my orcs from Warhammer 40K.
Hell yeah.
Tune in next week when we talk about another bad guy. We're watching Brightburn. Thanks. And
wait, no. Follow us on TikTok and YouTube, Instagram,
follow
Facebook,
us on
Amazon.
Jobe's only saying to follow on Instagram because he posts the Instagram. Our producer does the TikToks.
He used to. Jobe hasn't posted on Instagram.
We should be posting on YouTube more. If you follow YouTube, it's just right now it's just audio files.
Look out for our gameplays. Our live episode, our video episode of Doom is gonna be popping up. That was a good one. It's to this day still my favorite one.
Follow us anywhere you watch streaming platforms and recommend us to your friends. Be like, hey guys, new year, new podcast. This is a podcast I found. Listen. And then you just start sending them things until they start listening. And then you kind of be like, hey, man, you like it? And they go, I don't know, man. You're like, no, it's good. Just get past the first 30 episodes.
Wait, no. Everybody. If we all believe that this is a successful podcast, it'll become one.
Give your power.
To who?
Goku.
All right. There you go, buddy.
Catch us next week.
See ya.
You crazy cats.